welcome to my story again. Today, we're going to read chapter 21 of Anne of the Green Gable. Chapter 21, A Return to Avonlea. Marilla and Matthew traveled to Charlottetown to see Anne graduate. They sat and watched her receive her diploma. "Well," whispered Matthew, "aren't you glad we kept her after all?" "Not at the first time I've been glad, Matthew Cuthbert," Marilla snorted, "and I'm sure it won't be the last." Anne returned home with Marilla and Matthew. She thought Green Gables had never looked more beautiful. The first thing she did was run down to see Diana. It didn't take long before they were taking laugh just like before. "Does winning the Avery mean you won't be teaching next year?" Diana asked. They walked through the orchard as twilight settled. "That's right," Anne said. "I'll be going to Redmond College to study English, and the scholarship will pay all my expenses, so Matthew and Marilla won't have to worry. Isn't that wonderful?" "Oh, Anne, did you hear the school in Newbridge offered a Jane job? And Gilbert will be teaching in a formal school." "Gilbert?" Anne was surprised. "But I thought he would go on a Redmond as well." "His father can't afford it," Diana said. "Gilbert is planning to earn his own way, so he must start teaching right away." Anne felt strange when she heard this news. It'll be very odd to go to school without Gil. It won't be the same." The next morning at breakfast, Anne noticed that Matthew looked unwell. Marilla admitted that her brother was feeling poorly. "His heart is troubling him," Marilla said. "He's been tired lately." "And how are you, Marilla?" Anne asked. "You're looking very tired yourself. You shouldn't work so much." "It's not that, Anne," Marilla sighed. "It's my eyes. They're giving me terrible headaches. The doctor will send me to specialties." Sometimes Anne forgot that Matthew had Marilla much older, and they worried about their savings. And they were lying a bay bank that held all their money. Anne began to worry. Gently, Anne asked to Marilla, "Have you heard anything about Abbey Bank?" "Rachel has heard rumors that bank isn't doing well," she replied. "I want Matthew to put our money into saving bank in the first place, but old Mr. Abbey was such a good friend of father, and he'd always banked with him." "Mr. Abbey is a very old man," Anne said, "although he still holds his title of bank president, and his nephews who've been running the institution." She went out to Burn to talk to Matthew. "You've been working too hard today, Matthew. Why don't you take things easier?" "It's only that I'm getting old and keep forgetting. If I had been boys you sent for," said Anne, "I'd be able to spare you now in 100 ways." "Well, I'd rather have you than a dozen boys, Anne," said Matthew, putting her hand. "I guess it wasn't a boy that took Avery scholarship, was it? It was a girl, my girl, and I'm proud of." Anne did her best to remember every moment of the night. It was the last night of her life before it was touched by sorrow. No life is ever quite the same after that. chapter 22. We're going to read by chapter 22 too. The reaper whose name is Death. Matthew! What's the matter? Are you sick? It was Marilla who spoke, alarm in every word. Anne ran from the hall, her hands full of flowers, in time to see Matthew fall to his knees by the front door. He held a piece of paper in his hand, his face drowned in gray. They rushed into him, but it was too late. He fell to the ground before they reached him. He's fainted, Marilla said. Anne, run and tell Jerry Butt to get the doctor. Jerry rushed off, telling Mrs. Lynde along the way. She hurried to Green Gable at once. As soon as Mrs. Lynde arrived, she took Matthew's paws and put her ear in his chest. Tears came to her eyes. Oh, Marilla, she said gravely. I don't think we can do anything for him. Mrs. Lynde, you don't think you can't think Matthew is, and dare not say that dreadful word. Yes, child, I'm afraid so. Matthew has died. Mrs. Lynde held on to Anne and Marilla's hands until the doctor arrived. Dr. Blythe took at Matthew, then at the paper he was holding. It was a letter from Abby Banks saying that he lost all of Matthew's money. This was the shock that proved too much for his weak heart. Matthew's death proved a great shock for Marilla. She cried so uncontrollable that people were amazed. Anne, on the other hand, barely shed a tear. She was lost in her thoughts of poor, sweet Matthew. It seems too much to be without him. It wasn't until she was alone in bed, when she heard Matthew's voice saying, my girl, that I'm proud of, that the tears came. Marilla, hearing her sobs, came into her room to comfort her. They sat together holding one another through the night. So this is end of chapter 21 and 22. So far, nobody was dying, but Matthew finally died. Matthew died, sadly, because of his young heart, and he lost a lot of money. So, what if you're Matthew or Anne? Please let me know in the comment below to know if you will be okay with losing all your money or not. So answer in the comment, please. See you next time.